Alright, so happy day yesterday for those who are not in the know. It looks like Kirsche and the crime boss Rockay City guys managed to kiss and make up, bury the hatchet, mend fences, however you want to put it. So it looks like crime boss is back on, and wow, got summoned real quick. Which, as Kirsche pointed out, appears to be unprecedented, at least as far as I'm aware. There's never been a case where a company has let an influencer go and then, without some sort of groveling apology, let them back in. I'm not even sure it's even been allowed. Powder Donut and Drake Prospect. Okay, this is interesting. And I don't think we're in New Game Plus, so this is going to be pretty easy. So we're kind of in uncharted territory here. Oh, get back here, you bitch. Ah, love that dodge. Yeah, easy enough. So, there's a lot of questions as to how this is going to proceed because, like I said, uncharted territory, unprecedented. We don't know how this is supposed to go because it's kind of never been done again, and a lot of people are understandably skeptical. I kind of want to put those fears to rest, at least as far as I can war game it out in my mind. Apparently, according to Kirsche, what happened is that while that whole Vice article thing was going on last year, and everyone was focused on her more visible sponsorships, specifically Gamer Subs and I think Uwu Market. Apparently the community managers for In-Games, I believe is the name of the company, asked a different influencer what they should do in the situation. The influencer said, oh, well, this is a cancellation campaign, so obviously you cancel the person because that's what you do. And that's what they did. So apparently those guys are no longer there. The new guy that got brought in was given a list of influencers that they should try to contact. Kirsche was on the list for some reason. I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory that they may have fired the community managers under some pretense and then intentionally intentionally put her on the list and handed it to the new guy as a sort of a stealth way of extending an olive branch, right? No way I can prove that. It's just, that's my headcanon. Because apparently it wasn't like the developers and whatnot that wanted to do it. It was the community managers and then like management listening to the community managers, right? So, generally speaking, cancellations come in, let's just call it one of two flavors. Actually, one of three. The first one is someone who is right-leaning, says something spicy, and they get shit canned for that. The second kind is that a left-wing person gets exposed as not being as lefty as they said they were, or they transgressed in some way, and then they get shit canned for that, for basically not being lefty enough. And the third way is anyone does something that is just so egregious that it demands a response. Such as, kiddling dids, or being just outwardly incredibly racist in a non-joking and very obvious way towards anyone who isn't of European descent, by the way, because that's just all right. So this was essentially one of the first type, okay? Someone right of center saying something a little too based, and progressive types losing their mind, specifically, Anna Valens and all his various cohort. And generally what happens is the influencer will apologize and, kneel, bow, scrape, grovel, and then just not get taken back anyway. If there's been a scenario where someone does get taken back into the fold, I'm not aware of it. Not saying it's impossible, but this is a bit of a unique case because Kirsche did not kneel, bow, scrape, and grovel, ask for forgiveness, and got brought back in anyway, which makes this doubly unprecedented, right? Is this guy taking me all the way to the freaking Deathbird? This is a hell of a walk. So anywho, one of the fears I've heard stated, on her stream yesterday, was that this will make cancellations more likely because the person who is, the corporation, I should say, now has an understanding that they can be forgiven for stuff. Why is that just a ghost? Was that ghost always there? I thought it would have been an actual archer. Weird. Yep, looks like he's taking me to the Deathbird. This is going to be fun. And of course we got invaded. There he is. Hey! Let's see if he's still there, if he fingered out. Either he fingered out or he put on the talisman to be sneakier. Or maybe I just saw this guy and didn't realize it. Man, that teleporting is annoying. Oh, there he is. Oh, he's a laggy weirdo. Yeah, that carrying piercer has a bit of range on it, bud. So, I don't think that's quite how this is going to play out, because if it turns out that a right-leaning influencer is capable of, being forgiven and getting brought back on, I think it'll make it less likely that they'll be canceled in the first place. Not necessarily because the corporation will be more likely to cancel them, but because the cancelers will be less likely to attempt it if they know it can just be undone. Because if it gets undone, then that means that they're not going to be able to cancel anyone ever again for at least, minor offenses, shall we say. And host is dead. Oh well. After all, they're probably going to be, coping and seething now that she's back anyway, assuming this whole thing sticks. Another thing to consider is the financial aspect, which is what a lot of people have been saying, is that, well, they obviously brought her back on because she was basically their entire marketing and playtesting department. And after losing her, I'm sure they probably took a pretty sizable financial hit. In the little Q&A they had afterwards, the guy kept mentioning something about a Swedish investor, so apparently they have some, big Nordic money behind them for whatever reason. Wonder what his opinion on all this was. Maybe he had no opinion. They never told him about it. Who knows? But, he probably had a, good bit of time asking, hey, what's with this sudden drop in numbers, right? So there might have been investor pressure. There's definitely probably a financial aspect to it. I don't really care. I think that if somebody does the right thing, even if it's for the wrong reason, that's better than doing the wrong thing because you thought you had the right reason. Good intent is great and all. You want people to have good intent, but you want them to be led to good actions that way. If people can be led to good actions by bad intent, or just bad, I mean, making money isn't necessarily bad, then so be it. I'll take it. I can't remember exactly where the numbers for this came from, but I remember reading somewhere that when it comes to the spending patterns of people who identify as being progressive, strongly liberal, etc., however you want to word it, they tend to buy nostalgia bait and older stuff. As in, they don't really buy new things. That's why everyone's talking about how there is no modern audience, but they're trying to make the modern audience. It's not that the modern audience doesn't exist. They are actually quite numerous and often have quite a bit of money, Al. It's just that they don't spend it on new things. They have a strong bias towards old stuff that they're familiar with that's not going to hurt their fifis, because they already know it doesn't, because they've already consumed it. I don't like the fact that you were forced to aim at this guy's head. Alright, focus on me, buddy. I didn't get out of the way in time. Ooh. Put the debuff back on him. Like the frost proc. Red block. And dodge that. Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to be able to get out of that in time. Well, anyway, the point being, ow. If you want actual paying customers, they're probably going to be, ow. Where's the hitbox on that? Well, good luck everyone else. Point being, if you want to make money, you're going to want to focus on either normies or, people who are right of center, because they actually spend money on new stuff if they like it. The downside being, of course, as Kirsche has made, several times to point out, if people consume what they had in their childhood because it is familiar, then if they can get a foothold on anything going for the modern audience, then 20 years from now, all those kids who grow up to be left of center are going to be the modern audience. So you can't just point and say, ha, these guys aren't making money. They, made something for the modern audience that doesn't exist. The point is, when, we're all in the nursing homes, the people who are actually, doing stuff in the real world and running the joint are going to be the modern audience, which is what we have to be concerned about. So anything we can do, even if it is financially motivated, to reduce the amount of stuff being made for the modern audience right now, to give people who are growing up right now options for media, entertainment, and stories that are not modern audience, is just a full-on plus, because then the modern audience won't have anything to consume now, or they won't consume it now, and then the modern audience won't manifest because they only played stuff that was based. At least, ideally speaking. Trying to think if there's any other real points to be made. I know a lot of people just don't want to forgive them because, don't forgive people who wrong you, but, speaking as someone who is, Christian, as long as the person is being at least relatively sincere, they're making an effort, show that they want absolution, you should forgive them and bring them back so they can start being productive and, good again. And as Reagan famously said, trust but verify. Not going to take this as gospel, say, okay, crime boss is now perfectly good now and can be entirely supported. We got to watch for a while to see if they're going to go back on it, because if they go back on it, we're gone again. As for me, it turns out that I don't have a box that can play it. Unfortunately, not part of the PC Master Race right now, but I have a PS5, and apparently Crime Boss allows for cross-platform play. So, if it turns out that they're nice and trustworthy, and I can get a code that gives Kirsche a little bit of a cut, I might be there with them. I'm not super great at shooters like I was back in my youth, but, support the people who support you. That is the plan, at least. So, just to wrap up real quick, I don't think this is going to have any negative repercussions as long as it goes the right way. I think that the idea of never forgiving is short-sighted. Might feel good, but it doesn't do good. I don't think this will make further cancellations more likely. If anything, it'll just stay neutral. But if it works out, it shows that there is a path for redemption for at least right-leaning people who don't apologize. One possible downside is it might make left-leaning progressive types who transgress a little more likely to be forgiven, but we have the advantage that they're progressive, which means that they're Marxist-leaning. Marxism is, for all intents and purposes, a religion. Doesn't have to believe in a god to be a religion. You just need to have a telos, a set of moral values that you're expected to prescribe to, and actions that you are compelled to do because of those moral precepts. That is functionally what a religion is. Marxism is a religion. And forgiveness is not a part of that religion. So this is basically a tool that is exclusive to non-progressives. Oopsie doodle. Choose your religions better. That's a hell of a debuff to have. Anyway, that's about all I have to say. I'm going to wrap this up. It's already going on 20 minutes. Take care.